Here. Now, for Emmanuel, at this point in the service, we offer a Mishabera, prayer for healing, asking for God's blessing on members of our congregation, our friends, our family, all those who might be in need of healing and blessing. As always, Cantor Height will be reading a list of names between the two verses of this beautiful song. But if there are other names that are not on this list, say them. Say them out loud, say them silently, as your eyes meet the verse from this side of our chapel all the way around, so that all of us might ask for God's healing blessing on their behalf. service for the reading of the Torah on page 244. And this time, I want to call some people up to the Bimah. I want to call up Tessa's parents and grandparents and brother and sister, if she wants to ascend the Bimah. Also, want to call Megan and Forrest to join us as well to help open the ark when it comes. Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai ve'ein kema'asecha. There is none like you among the gods, Adonai, and there are no deeds like yours. You are sovereign over all worlds, and your dominion is in all generations. Adonai Melech, Adonai Malach, Adonai Yimloch, Le'olam Ha'ed. God reigns. Adonai has reigned. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Adonai oz va'amod yitein. Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom. Adonai will give strength to our people. Adonai will bless our people with peace. Please rise. Anywhere in the world. And yet this scroll is different. It's different not because of what is in it, but from where it comes. You see, this scroll does not belong to our congregation. This scroll belongs to a congregation, a community in Czechoslovakia, a community by the name of Kolín. And we know from our research that Kolín had a long and proud history of Jewish life, with over 400 Jewish souls over the history. We know that Kolín was a seat of rabbinic authority. We also know that following World War II, only a handful of the 460 Jews in Kolín survived. You see, as the Nazis marched through Eastern Europe, the Einsatz group and the special forces that followed Hitler's army had a very specific task. And that task was to gather together all of the Jews and all of the communities they encountered, and either murder them on the spot or send them off to the death camps in Poland, the ghettos. And then they would come to the synagogues, and before they burned the synagogues, they would strip them of anything of value they could find, furnishings, jewels, tapestries. But they also took the Torah scrolls, these scrolls that had no intrinsic value to the Nazis. They shipped them and all the furnishings that they stole to a warehouse in Prague, where they were labeled and numbered. It was the Nazis' dream that when the world was finally rid of Jews, they would create a museum to a depraved race. And the centerpiece of that museum was to have been the Torah scrolls of the Jews of Czechoslovakia. Well, following the war, this warehouse was discovered with furniture and furnishings and all of the elements and the most precious objects of all these communities. But they found these Torah scrolls. And they sent them to the Westminster Synagogue in London, England, where they were lovingly repaired and numbered. Those which had been desecrated beyond repair were buried, but those which had not were preserved and sent to communities around the world. Now, our story at our congregation is unique, because the ark that you see in front of you, the Ten Commandments above it, the lintel, the Torah holder, the candelabrum in the back, and the 3 chairs that you see here also come from the community of Kolin, from the synagogue of Kolin. You see, just before the Nazis entered, this furniture was smuggled out of Kolin into Switzerland, where it became the center of a congregation there throughout the war. In 1980, that congregation could no longer sustain itself, and so they put this furniture up for sale. And at the same time we were building this chapel, and our Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Stephen Foster, learned about this furniture, went to Switzerland, bought it, and brought it back here to our congregation. And we built this entire chapel around this furniture, because we wanted this chapel to be a symbol of our past, our present, and our future. And we wanted its story to be told, and so we tell it every Shabbat. And then when it came time to dedicate this ark, we wrote to the Westminster Synagogue in London, and we said, is there perchance a Torah scroll from Kolin? There was. And so we sent for it, and we brought it here. And what I hold here is scroll number 287 of the Czech Holocaust Memorial Torah Trust, the Torah scroll of the Jewish community of Kolin. We placed it back in that ark, which is where it began its journey. And we can't use it because it is no longer a full scroll. There are letters that are missing, so we can't use it. And yet, we take it out every Shabbat morning when we celebrate a bar or bat mitzvah. Because this is Torah, and this scroll is our history, our values, our vision. This is Torah. For 4 millennia, our people have lived by it, and all too often, because of their loyalty to it, they've died. This is Torah. 4,000 years. We've passed it from generation to generation. Once again, on this morning of a bat mitzvah, we symbolically pass it from generation to generation to generation. From grandparents to a father, father to God. We have a custom in our congregation, whenever we have many guests who may not have had an opportunity to see what a Torah scroll looks like up close, to come up here. So if you've never seen a Torah scroll up close, come on up. We have lots of room. The taller people should be in the back. The less taller people should be in the front. Here in the front. Come on up. We're going to do this shift. We're going to do it. This is good. This is great. Wow! That's a record. We're going to do it in shifts. It's fine. All right. So, a Torah scroll, you'll get a chance, I promise, in the back. A Torah scroll is the most sacred object in the synagogue. In this scroll are the first 5 books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. We read the entire scroll every year, from beginning to end, at least portions of it. And at the end of the year, we start over again. It is considered a great honor to read from the Torah. You're not allowed to read from the Torah unless you are A, Jewish, and B, 13 years old, which is the age of bar or bat mitzvah. That's one of the many reasons we're making such a big deal over Tess this morning. Because this is the Shabbat. This is actually her birthday. So today is the day she becomes bat mitzvah, her birthday. And it's also the day that she is reading from the Torah for the first time as a bat mitzvah. Now, you can see, those of you in front and those in the back, I promise you will, that is quite beautifully written. It's all written by hand, on parchment, by a scribe. It takes about 11 to 13 months to write a Torah. So when we commission a Torah, we're literally commissioning one person to work for an entire year. So they're very expensive, you can imagine. And we want to keep very good care of them. So we treat them with love because they're sacred objects. But also when we read from the Torah, we do something, we don't touch the scroll with our fingers. You never touch a Torah. But instead, we use something called a yad. What does that look like? That's right, a hand. That's exactly what it is. Yad means hand. And we use it as a pointer because we want to treat it with respect. We also don't want the oil from our fingers to smudge the ink. If we take good care of our Torah scrolls, as we do, it can last for a very long time. Now, there can be no mistakes in a Torah scroll. You can't have any errors. If there's an error, you can correct it, unless it's the name of God. If the name of God is not correct, you can't erase that. And a whole section has to be taken out. You see how it's sewn together here and set aside. And later on, because it's a sacred object, we bury it in a special place in the cemetery. It's very difficult to read from the Torah. There's no vowels, there's no punctuation, unlike what's in the prayer book. So it takes a long time. Another reason we're making such a big deal out of Tess is because she's worked very, very hard to reach this moment. So those of you up close, come take a look. You see some of these letters, some of them have crowns on them. They're very, very beautiful. Okay, now you guys go sit down. Sorry. And those are that way, so let's make room for them to go into the second wave. Zoom up close so you can see the scroll. It's written on parchment. And all the segments are sewn together. We're currently in the middle of the book of Numbers, actually the beginning of the book of Numbers. That's what we'll talk about. It's hard, you have to know where you are in the Torah. It's the beginning of a chapter. Some portions are more easy to find than others. But it goes right to left. So you see it's one, so we passed the middle. Because that's what Hebrews are. One of those are right to left. That's the answer I give you. That's probably true. It's all right. Yes, there's a special procedure. tell us about what she is going to be reading for us in this week's Torah portion.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
The Torah portion for the Shabbat is taken from the book of Numbers, chapter 12, verses 1 through 16. It contains instructions for installing a menorah or candelabra in sanctuaries, on screen, priests, and Levites. It also describes the procedure to be followed by an Israelite who misses bringing the Pesach sacrifice, and it includes a description of the Israelites' journey through the desert. When the people complained about their diet and manna, Moses asked God, "Why have you laid the burden of all this people upon me?" Moses counseled to put 70 experienced elders and officers to share leadership in the spirit of prophecy with him. Also, in this portion, Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses for marriage to a Cushite woman. Miriam is stricken with leprosy. Both Aaron and Moses peed on their behalf, and after 7 days she is cured. The reading can be found on page 1099 in the Red Core Commentary. Page 1099. Yes, sir.
This is just for beautiful, God. For the honor of our first Aliyah, we call Lynn and Mel, Tobias, Aunt and for the honor of the second Aliyah, we call grandparents Barbara and Don Tobias, joined also by Robert and Cheryl Lyons. Other grandparents.
Baruch Adonai,
of the next Aliyah, we call up Scott and